Pam, go right ahead. Let's get to the next subject.
1 second, because I can't go on Twitter on my computer because I'm in Russia. So if you can just post the first tweet. Basically, what happened was that Ukraine killed a RIA Novosti war correspondent, Ratislav Shurovlev, with cluster munitions. These cluster munitions, of course, are U.S. provided, NATO provided, particularly the United States. And so there were other correspondents that were affected from another Russian media company as well. And they were going to document these artillery attacks by Ukraine with these cluster bombs on residential areas of the Zaporozhye region when they were struck. Now, this reminds me of Israel striking the Palestinian journalists. We have been reporting on that happening. 4 of them were taken to the hospital, but the Zhurolev didn't make it. He succumbed to his injuries, and the other 3 have a non-life-threatening injury. So this is him. Now, what I want to mention about him is I got attacked immediately by a lot of these troll farm pro-Ukrainian groups as soon as I put this off. And one of them is this guy who lives in the UK. His name is Alex Kokcherov, and he lives in the UK, right? And he is not a journalist, is what he said. Zhurovlev is not a journalist, but a Russian war propagandist and terrorist. In 2014, he was among the Russian militants who were capturing government buildings in the Donetsk and Lugansk regions in what they say is East Ukraine, what is now Russian territory. If you can put that tweet up, that would be great. It's the second tweet that I have up under that section. And so what I wanted to do that is show what these people do. So this guy, Alex Kokcherov, is justifying the attack and murder of this Russian journalist with NATO weapons because he was Russian and had a different point of view. So he decided this guy was a propagandist, and so because he was a propagandist, by his own words, he should be killed. This is exactly the sentiment a lot of these people have. I mean, Ukraine has a kill list. I don't know why people think that's normal. It's not normal. Ukraine has a kill list with a lot of my friends and colleagues on it. And, it's insane that people are trying to justify, oh, they're both bad. There's not a kill list for Russia. Russia doesn't have a kill list saying we're going to kill all these journalists. So this guy is trying to say that he was a propagandist, right? And so I responded to this also in the next tweet. The third tweet from the beginning. And I said, I love how those justifying the murder of journalists pull out pictures of Zhurolev from 2014 when he was fighting Nazis, killing people in Donbass. A lot of people who were living in Donbass decided to go to the front lines and fight because they were killing their family, their friends, and they said, we're going to stop these Nazis. And he stopped fighting a long time ago. So they're sharing this old picture saying, oh, he wasn't a real journalist. He was a propagandist. And this was 9 years ago when he was fighting in the Donbass. He had long since stopped and was actually working as a correspondent. So even if he had been, pro-Russia, which he obviously was, even if you feel like he doesn't deserve to be shot and killed as a civilian. He's a civilian, whether you like it or not. He's not fighting in the war at that moment. So I think these people are obviously finding excuses, right? Excuses. But this is an escalation pasta. This is, this is, of course, coming out of the Crimea bridge, the Kerch bridge that was attacked recently. And now we saw this journalist. And then also, as RT pointed out as well this morning, a Ukrainian drone attack happened on Moscow. And the Russian Foreign Ministry said this is international terrorism. And the 2 UAVs crashed into buildings in Moscow, in the Russian capital. And this was found near the Ministry of Defense. So this happened today. I was walking along the Russian Ministry of Defense on Sunday. I took a late walk on Sunday around the Russian Ministry of Defense right before a thunderstorm began. So this happened pretty much right after that into the early hours of Monday today. It was early Monday today for us. So Putin has been just ramming, right, Odessa. They've been going after Odessa. Odessa is extremely important because if the Russians take Odessa, which is their aim at this point to take Odessa, they will cut off Ukraine from the ocean because Ukraine has that end of the Black Sea, right? Russia has the very southern western part or eastern part of the Black Sea with Sochi, and you have that region, and then you have Ukraine. So if Russia takes the Black Sea fully, Ukraine will be cut off, like completely from the ocean, and so that's not good for Ukraine. So Russia has been ramming up against Odessa. Putin has said they are going to respond to the aggression on in Moscow. They're saying this is a terror attack. And so again, guys, this is just increasing in escalation. This is now you're attacking Moscow. Now, the United States was really silent. Ukraine hasn't said much, but the United States said that they don't support Ukrainian attacks in Russia. So this seems to be getting out of hand. It seems to be escalating in terms of how this conflict is happening, because I don't know if you heard, fam, Poland has decided that they're going to start getting ahead of an offensive because they're freaked out about Belarus going there with the former, of course, Prigozhin's men. We're talking about the mercenaries and the fact that they got sent to Belarus. They're freaked out about that, and so they're saying that no, now they have to fight against the potential threat from Russians coming in through Belarus. This is what they're saying, that the Russians are going to come through Belarus and they're going to take Poland and do what Hitler did and expand. So that's what Poland is using as the excuse to say that they're going to start, ramping up for these attacks. So
Do we have any other more tweets that we have to show here? I know you've been you're a trooper. You did a whole 8 to 10 hours over there at RT, and now you're powering through this, fam. I'm sorry the sections were so long, but we've gone on a week and change, so we had so many things to make up on, and we didn't even get to half the news out there. But did you still want to show any?
There's a last tweet I want to show from Angelo Giuliano,
All right,
where he's talking about the collective West. And he said the collective West created them. Now they are in our European cities, same as the collective West created Al-Qaeda, ISIS, who later turned against their own creators. We are facing ahead decades of Nazi terrorism ideology in Europe because our elites accepted it was normal to partner with Azov and other far-right groups in Ukraine. Karma will be brutal. You can see the pictures of the Azov insignia and the Nazi emblem on this guy's leg. It's a close-up. It clearly says he's Azov. He's got all of the emblems. When people say that Russia is not fighting Nazis, this is just a few of them, blah, blah, blah. I can attest by Russians themselves who have relatives in Ukraine, who have lived in Ukraine, that the threat of Nazism is very real. They're not allowed to speak Russian. They haven't been for years. They've been attacked for being Russian. Their language and culture has been attacked. And it's a very real thing. Now, obviously, these radical factions, as Angela pointed out, have been completely empowered by the United States, whether it was an ISIS, Al-Qaeda fighter, a Nazi, or these other radical factions like the White Helmets in Syria. The United States has empowered it and weaponized these factions for their own political purposes, but then once they're gone, these factions destroy the countries that they exist in. And I think that's what's happening in Ukraine and what's going to continue to happen. And I think we're seeing just continued escalations by Ukraine. I think Russia is going to respond far more now than they have before, because now you're killing Russian journalists to an excessive degree. We went through the whole list with, obviously Daria Dugina. We have Vladimir Tatarsky. We have all of these attacks that have happened in the last few months here. And then we have the attacks in Moscow, the bridge twice, the Nord Stream pipelines. This is a moment where Russia has hit back and said, okay, we're going to do something about it, which is why you're seeing Odessa. Meanwhile, Russia is continuing their diplomatic expansion when it comes to China and Africa. You're going to see the Russia-Africa summit. You're going to see the BRIC summit in South Africa, which Putin won't attend. Lavrov will go instead because South Africa is divided. And one of the divisions has put out a warrant for Putin's arrest if Putin goes to South Africa. So that whole situation is really displeasing, but that's what's happening. And so Putin is not going to go to South Africa because he said he doesn't want to put South Africa in that position. So he will not be attending the BRIC summit. And I think that's a wise move diplomatically. So he's sending Lavrov instead, but he's going, to all these other summits and stuff. So you're still seeing Russia do what they're doing. But in terms of the conflict, I do think I see it escalating much further with Poland coming in and saying, they're going to jump in on this. They would be very stupid to do so, because the more they push Russia, the more Russia's going to be like, oh, you think we're going to take Poland? We had no interest in taking Poland, but if Poland's going to be a problem behind Ukraine, then all right, we'll go there. And I think that's of course an escalation that none of us want to see, because we don't want to go to World War III. So
somebody was mentioning while we're talking about the Ukraine situation right now about Sarah Carrillo, whatever her name is, right? So the other day in Nicaragua, before I was leaving, I was sitting there and tweeting, and I put down here this tweet because I wanted to make a point. It says, tonight we welcome the Ukraine warriors who were injured while courageously defending their country. Please donate here to help Ukrainian wounded warriors. And they put it up in Yankee Stadium. In Yankee Stadium in New York, the Mets, the Jets, the Yankees, they've been very vocal and open about helping Ukraine. And I'm going to write a letter to the New York Jets and tell them to please stop with this crap and just don't say anything. And I put, I am happy for the soldiers of Ukraine are receiving medical help, for they have been used as pawns by the West. However, if Americans would only be up in arms for allowing the U.S. to continue to fund the bloodbath in the Ukraine as much as they were for the sisters of perpetual indulgence and boycott these games that are perpetuating war, then maybe the State Department will finally get the point. Hashtag get it together. Priorities. Fam, I don't know if you know this, but in Dodger Stadium, they had this Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which is like a gay group of dancers, but not like strippers and drag queens that do these things. Well, they had them in Dodger Stadium, and 90% of the stadium didn't go inside. They stayed out in the parking lot. They protested the game and whatnot. Okay, fine. That's your priority. Well, why won't they do the same for this right here? It drives me up a wall, fam. It's like, come on, get your priorities straight. Do the same. This is war. This is a bloodbath that's going on. Stand up against it and say no more. Why didn't it come in? I don't know why here it is. Okay.
Well, they won't, because it's not the culture war grift. That's why.
Exactly, which just drives me crazy. But now, fam, look at this. So I put that up there, and look who liked it. Sarah Ashton Carrillo. She liked that tweet. Am I getting trolled by her or some shit, fam?
No, it sounds like you're okay with people being helped from Ukraine. But I said, like when I first read it, I was like, why is he saying that?
She didn't read I didn't want to be rude to to people getting help for limbs and whatnot. Like I said, they've been used as pawns. But the fact that she liked the tweet, I guess she didn't read the whole thing. Maybe she's not as bright as we think she is, but Yeah, that was that, fam. I just thought
Which is
that was
great.
funny to kind of put that up there.